Hello and welcome to another edition of Multimedia Basic Tutorials. In today's lesson, what we're going to be looking at is how we use the program called Pages. This is going to be the software that we're going to be using a lot in multimedia when we designed our BA Star, and we're going to be changing our BA Star this year. We're going to be using the BA Star is going to be put on display in large formats in the display cases. And so we're going to be using that as our means of displaying the BA Star. And so we are going to be using Pages for that. There's other types of software that we'll be playing around with. There is this Canva that we'll be playing with as well, but I want to make sure everyone knows how to use Pages as our basic default software that we're going to be using. So I'm going to go over some basic stuff that you should know about Pages and how to use it so you can get familiar with it. So once you open up Pages, you're going to get a screen that looks like this. And you have a variety of things that you can do with Pages. There is reports you can do. So if you click on reports, these are kind of the templates for it. Book formats, letters, resumes, posters and flyers, newsletters, stationery, certificates, and miscellaneous stuff. Okay, so typically you're going to be on this all right away, and it's going to show everything that we just went through. I usually tell students to start off with just a blank one, at least in multimedia, because a lot of the stuff we're going to be doing is either already a template that's given to you, or you're going to be doing something from scratch. And so you can either take this blank one that is going to be vertical, or else you can take a blank landscape that's going to be horizontal, depending on what you're trying to do in terms of your display, what you're going to be presenting. So we're going to just take this blank vertical one here, and once you have that, you're going to then choose it, and it's going to then get you your Pages file, and you're going to then open that. I'm going to make it a large screen here so you can see everything. Once you're in this setting, the next thing you want to do is format it. So right now, this is gonna, if you print it off, it's gonna print it off as a normal sheet of paper. But if you want to go to, and you click on File, and you click on Page Setup, you can actually change the dimensions of this. So it's an 8.5 by 11 inches, so that's about the size of a typical printed paper sheet that you have. But if you need to ever change it into like a larger poster, 11 by 17, you can click on that, and that's going to change the dimensions. If you want to do more of an envelope style, you can do that. They have some basics presets here in terms of the dimensions. There might be ones that you actually have to customize. So you might have to go to manage the size, and in this, you can actually customize it. So perhaps you have some that are already in here. I have independent study banners, and so I could click on that, and it already has the 21.5 inches by 20 is already a preset that I put in there. You can add your own dimensions. So if I click on Add, I'll have a untitled one, and I can actually title that. So maybe there's something, and I want to do like BA bulletin board. Okay, so maybe I want to do something like that, and maybe that BA bulletin board is like 25 for the width, and let's say it's 45 by the height. And it's going to put it default into inches. If you need to change it to feet or whatever, you can change that as well. And then you can press OK, and then that's going to always save there. So if I press OK, you're going to see that what will happen here to my piece of paper here. But if I press OK, and I'm changing my dimensions, press OK, it's going to make it much larger because I'm working on a bigger piece. So I could zoom, and you're going to find out it's going to give me something that's a different size sheet of paper to work with. So when I put things on there, it will match it to the size that I'll be printing with it. And being that we have a large format printer, we want to make sure we have the precise sizes, so when we print it off, it will make it the size that we need. So what we're going to go over is I'm going to go over some of these basic functions over here, but in order to do that, I'm going to close out of this blank one, and I'm going to pull up a template. One of the things that you will have access to is, I'm going to delete this, is a template that we're going to be using for the BA Star this year. And I'm going to use this as the template to show you basically what it's going to look like, and then also to show you some formatting tools and how we're going to be using this throughout the school year in terms of our BA Star. So we're going to be having this template that we're going to be working on, and every student will have access to this. So every student then can work on their specific section that they're going to be in charge of. And if we already go back to my pages and go to File and go to Page Setup, I have the dimensions already customed for this specific project. So it's 21.5 by 33 inches. That will fit the display case down by the main lobby that we can put these on, and then everyone can see them. And like I said, it's a template. So being that it's a template, we can actually delete all these things, and we'll have the basic guidelines still on here. So what we're going to be doing is we're going to have these specific sections on our template. So we're going to have some kind of title. So we're looking at the first week of school. So it's going to be called Welcome Back or something similar to that. And then whatever you decide to do. So you're going to be creative. So each month we're going to have a creative title that will go into this template that we'll be changing. We're going to have a section called Nest News. Nest News is basically news that's happening at BA. What are the things that we're doing within the school that are specific features that we want to do a quick little summary of to let the public know and let students know what's going on. And so I have for the first week of school, it's probably going to be something with welcome back, orientation. We're going to be doing some community service stuff, so we might want to throw that into it. But basically, we're going to have some people that are going to be in charge of writing an article for it. And again, it's only going to be this length because we have room for a whole bunch of other things that we have to put in here. And we'll throw some pictures in here. And then on this side, we're going to have high-flying cardinals. We're going to have that section that's going to kind of illustrate not necessarily people that are in sports, but things that are going on with students or families within the BA community that we can kind of put into the spotlight. So we have Marty Brazil, who ended up getting his Eagle Scout, so we can talk about Marty Brazil and talk about what he's been accomplishing. I was thinking we are going to have the state fair. We could talk about some students that are in the state fair and what they're doing. And then down here I have a section that's going to be dedicated towards the sports, whether it's volleyball, football, co-op sports, but we can highlight some of those things in there. And as you can see, this is just information that I got from last year that I incorporated into this template. So with this template, a couple things is, again, it's going to be a template. So when you download this will all be present, but you can actually do Command A, and that's going to highlight everything. So you're going to want to do this when you get this template, highlight everything, and then what you can do is you can actually press delete, and everything is going to delete other than the things that need to stay there, the template part. So when you need to create a title, you can put that in there. That's your space you're working with. You have your Nest News. That's your space you're working with. You have to design this piece to fit this section. High Flying Cardinals, you have this section, and then sports, you have this section. So what I want to go through is some basic tutorials. I'm going to put that back here. But some of the things, if we take a look at images, we'll start with images over here. Over here on pages, you have your images that you can monkey around with, you can play around with. One thing that I'm telling students that they should do to really enhance the photo is a lot of people will just throw the image in there like this, and it won't have a shadow on it. I personally think adding a shadow adds a little more to it. So when you drag and drop pictures in there, be creative with it. If you feel like a shadow is not going to be beneficial, then don't put a shadow on it. But for me, I feel like most of our images, when you click on the image and you go to shadows under the style and you put a drop shadow, I just feel it adds a little more pop to it so it stands out a little more. So I'd recommend that you put some kind of shadow around it, some kind of enhancement effect to it. You can change things here. I just kind of do the preset stuff, but you can offset the shadow if you want to go down, if you want to go up. You can change the blur so it can go up further. It can be basically more of a silhouette, really dark and condensed. The opacity, you can make it light where it's almost transparent. You can raise it up so it gets very, very dark. But again, you can change these things and simply just play around with it. You can press Command Z after you do something and be like, oh, I like it, I don't like it. But you just kind of play around with those enhancement pieces. You can also take the angle, change the angle, and kind of shift it around. So maybe you want it to look like it's has a shadow towards the back, and there's more of a light source over here. You can change the angle to that. If you want to change the color, you can certainly change the color too. Again, I want you to be creative when you're doing this. So you can certainly do that piece. There's a reflection, so if you want to put a reflection to it, so you'll see under Josh here, there'll be a reflection of him. And again, once you do that, you can make that a dark reflection. You can change the opacity to that. Again, you can change a lot of variables within this. But again, you got to just kind of putz around with it. And that's the thing I always encourage everyone. Just play around with stuff until you see something that you like. And there's different things. You can change the different types of shadow. There's a contact shadow. There's a curved shadow. If you want it to be more curved. There's a variety of things you can do with that picture. Some pictures, like this one down here, you might want to put a frame around it. So again, you could just put a simple line around it. And it's just going to be a simple line. Whenever we do a line, you're going to depend on what your piece looks like, but you're probably going to go between 3 and 5. That's going to be the parts or the points that we're going to be using. You can change those between 3 and 5 depending on what you want, but you don't want something that's really thick. So as you can see down here, it looks really blocky. So you don't want something that's like that. If you want to put a picture frame around it, you certainly can. If you take a look up here, there's different other examples of different frames and different styles. This one has a reflection underneath it. For this piece, I thought that looked kind of cool, so I put a frame around it, and it's more of like a picture style frame. But yeah, so you have those different things that you can do. Over here, same thing. I have Marty Brazil, and I just decided with his, I want it to be more of a classic look, a nice clean look. So again, 6 is kind of a lot, so I probably would put that down to like 5 or even 3. I tried 3, and again, you have to play around with it, but 3 just didn't really put a nice enough border around it, so I decided to go up to 5 there for that. But again, you'll have to play around with that. And there's a variety of things. You can change the colors here. One big thing when we look at colors, in a lot of things that we do, whether it's a text or if it's the picture or the border, whenever you see the color, you have this piece right here, which is a color drop. One thing you can do is you can take this eyedropper and you can change the colors. So if you want to use the same colors throughout the image, so if you were using something that was red or green or something you wanted to capture the exact same color, let's say we want to take the red from his shirt, all you have to do is make sure you put this eyedropper on that red, and I click here, and you're going to see that this all changes, and we're going to get a red that's going to be matching his shirt in this picture. For me, when I do my colors, if I take this, our reds, the red that we will be using, and it'll be on the website too, but it's AF1112. You press enter. That is always the red that we're going to be using. So we have this hex color. This hex color is basically, it's really important, at least for the red, because all the reds that we'll be using, in whether it's multimedia for the Jocelyn's yearbook or for this template, we're going to always be using this exact red. And so that kind of is the basic things that you should know about images when you put images in. And again, you have these different tabs. You can arrange them. This is a really important tool as well, especially when you have images like this. So right now, I have this image is on top of Josh, but you have these arrangement tools, and you can customize all this stuff. You can put some of these tools up here, and I'll show you that later on. But these arrangement tools, I can send this to the back. So I can just singly move it back one frame at a time, and then it goes to the back. Okay. You can see now where's that showing up in front of the text. Okay, so that's behind the text now. If I move it forward, it's going to go in front of the text. If I move it forward again, it will then go in front of Josh. These are kind of single frame by frame. Over here, you can actually just send it right to the back. So this goes all the way to the back. So if you click there, now you can't even see it because it's behind everything. If you move it all the way to the front, it will then bring it all the way to the front. So those are just arrangement tools that you can be using. Another thing is when you put an image in here, a thing you want to always do is, so when you have an image, let's say dragged Josh in here, you always want to make sure that this is going to be, you want to make sure it stays on the page. And automatic, you can either put it to none, depending on what you're doing. If you put none, it's not going to be moving. See, it won't move these words around. It's not going to be moving anything. You'll notice right away when you start doing this, if you don't have it on none, as you move the image around, it's going to be moving the text around. And so if you want to make sure that this moves around with your text, you want to make sure that you have this as automatic. And now when it's automatic, your text will go around this image. So that's something to keep in mind. There'll be certain things where you want to move, certain things you don't. So that's pretty much all I want to show you with images. Oh, also with images, last thing is you can lock images and you can rotate images. So if I have this image here, first of all, if I want to rotate it, I have this angle. I can just spin it around here, and that's under this arrangement tool. But I can spin around the image and put it however I want. The other thing is, let's say I like Josh and I like him right there and I don't want him to move. You can actually lock that in there. So now, as I move things, I can no longer click on Josh. I can click on him, and you'll see the box will go around him, that little faint box there. But I can't move Josh. I can move things around him, but that's not going to affect Josh at all. And that's how I basically made the template, is I had these items on here, and I locked them on here so then when you delete things, it won't delete those specific items. Let's see. Our next thing, when you look at like these titles, remember these titles are all made, these specific ones are made in flaming text, so you'll have to go to flaming text to put those on. In terms of our fonts, so when you click on a font, anytime you want to insert a text box, you just have to click on text, and a text box will appear. All right. So once I have my text box in here, I can change it over here. I can change my fonts. And again, we're going to have style guides. So you want to make sure that you're following the style guides. So if it says that these ones, I believe these are in Georgia, you want to make sure when you put in a new text box that you have the same fonts, because we don't have different fonts throughout this. We want it to look very uniform. Multiple people can be working on it, but you're using the same type of fonts. So you click to Georgia, and your sizing might change depending on how much information you have to put in there and what you're looking at. We can see that this part on Marty is about 20 font. Over here is 20 font too, so maybe you want to continue having 20 font. So then you change your fonts over here. It's regular. If you need to bold anything, you can bold it. If you need to underline it, you can start typing something, and you can underline that specific part. You can italics it. You can change the font color. Same thing is over here. You just click on, you might want it as red. But again, if you just do red like this, that's not matching our red. It's kind of red, so again, you click on this color, and my eyedropper is going to be over here. Hex color, you want to do the same red, so it'd be AF, and press enter, and then that's going to match our red. So again, you can't just pick any red. We got to make sure our reds match up. So again, you can change that color from that location there. Changing the size, we went through that. Alignment, if you want it to be in the center, you can change it in the center. You can put it over to the right side of the page, the left side of the page, but these are going to be changing our alignments. If you want let's see, it to be in the center of this text box, you can press that, and that's going to be in the center of this text box. With this, a really important feature is, let's say we have this text box. You can use it to make sure things are aligned properly. So if I put this here, and I click on my words, I have my text box. It goes from here to here, so it fits within this area, and I want to put it in the center. I can simply click on center the text. So now it's in the center, and I want to center it within this box, so I can do that. So now it's perfectly centered within this region. So again, that is perfectly centered. I'd rather have you do that than if you start going like this, and now I have this box, and I go, oh, okay, right here is centered. Okay, that might not be centered. So if I actually pull this across this way to match where I want to put it, it now will center it from here to here, and then it will put it exactly where I want it to be. So again, I just want to make sure that you're not just eyeballing things up. You're actually using the tools to make sure things are centered. Rotation thing, if you need to still rotate it, you can rotate it anyway. There is a flip button. These ones let you flip it. Same thing when you're on images. There'll be a flip, so you can flip it back and forth. Watch Josh dance. But those are kind of some of the main features in terms of our arrangement tools. And again, as you click on the text box, you start to move in and out of the text, the style, and the arrangement. If for some reason you want to put a border within here, you just click on the style, and you can change the border. You can put a black border around that, and it's going to cover everything in that text box with black, or whatever color you decide. If you want to change that color, again, you can simply click on this color eyedropper. You could change the color to whatever you want. If you wanted it red, it will change it then to that red. All right, but that will then match that. With your fonts, so again, let's raise this up a little so we can see it better. And with your fonts, when you click on a font, and we'll go back to your style, you can put drop-down shadows on it. So if we take a look at this, you might not see it right away, but you might need to make the blur a little more. You can have it offset. And so this is going to actually go around the box here, so you can make that box look a little more 3D, so that will pop the box there. But you can have that. I'm just going to click back on this. There is a variety of things you can do with spacing. There's bullet points. A lot of stuff you can do in Word, we can do right in here. So again, it's a lot of just kind of playing around with the pieces here and seeing what works, what doesn't work. But there's a variety of things that I won't have enough time to go through everything. But I hope that at least gets you a start on looking at how do we go about putting text boxes in, how do we put images in, and kind of knowing the basic format of how do we change things and how we do some basic editing using pages. So that concludes our lesson for today. I hope that was a good start. So go around, play with some of this stuff, and like I said, keep working, keep putzing with it. Try new things. Don't be afraid to do different things. Don't always have everything the exact same way that you've done in the past. Try to really enhance your piece so when people look at it, they see it and they're impressed with what you're doing. That concludes our lesson for today. Take your time and make sure you're working hard, and we'll see you next time.